is Father the pastor here at Corpus Christi, and it's my great honor this evening to welcome back to his home the former and beloved pastor of this faith community. Today, if you weren't aware, marks the 20th anniversary of the dedication of this space for worship. And as the center of our ministry for the University of Toledo and beyond. Some of you surely remember when this building was just a dream. You might remember Mass, as I hear it told all the time, at the engineering building, the Law Center, and the Student Union. And for those of you who were part of that pilgrim church, including our speaker this evening, us latecomers are eternally grateful for your faithfulness and commitment to this parish, even without a dedicated building to call home. We are here today because of all of you. But, by applause, let me ask if you consider this space an improvement from those early days. And thank you to Father Bacik. I'm not sure where he is here. He's hiding. Thank you to Father Bacik for his leadership in making that happen. When you took your seat tonight, you should have found two things. First, a booklet describing many aspects of this building, which was distributed many years ago. I think around the time of the dedication. Some of you may still have yours on your coffee table, but if not, it is a beautiful tribute to this building, and I'd ask you to take them home, and I have a couple on my coffee table in my apartment. Also, you should have found on your chair an envelope outlining some of the needs of this incredible space going forward. As you know, every building ages, and we want to make sure that in another 20 years and beyond, this place remains the vibrant and visible expression of the presence of Jesus Christ on this campus and in this community. Our needs continue to evolve as well. I'm pleased to say that our student engagement keeps growing. This past weekend, we had over 300 people at the 6 p.m. Mass, mainly students. Our programming continues to draw large numbers, and some of our facilities are in need of the updating that comes with age and the new demands of student ministry in a technological age. On the envelope, you can see some of the facility, programming, and service needs that we have here at Corpus Christi going forward. If you are prepared to support us to continue that legacy tonight, there will be a few students at the door with collection baskets at the end of Father Bacik's lecture. If you'd like to support us but are not prepared tonight, feel free to send in your envelope or place it in the collection basket at church. If you are not able to contribute financially, please support us in prayer or by offering your talents to help build up this community of faith. Our simple goal is to continue the legacy that Father Bacik began here. When our current students have children that attend the University of Toledo, I want this community to still be strong and providing the inspirational services that we are able to offer now. Father Bacik laid a strong foundation. Let's continue that legacy for generations to come. Speaking of Father Bacik, he hardly needs an introduction. But to maybe a few students that are here, they may have only heard his name, but not his indispensable role in building up this community of faith and his contributions to campus ministry nationwide. Just a few highlights. Father Bacik in 1985 wrote the U.S. Bishop's document on campus ministry entitled Empowered by the Spirit, which still stands. It's amazing. No documents last this long in the Catholic Church. And And this document still stands as the authoritative treatment of campus ministry over 30 years later. He recently published what I believe is his 11th book, entitled Pope Francis and Campus Ministry, which I read this summer and is a kind of summary of his life in campus ministry and his guide to college ministry going forward. Much of it is what he's going to speak about this evening. And last but not least, he was the shepherd of this faith community for 30 years. Friends, join me in welcoming back to Corpus Christi, Father Jim Bacik.
I think it's great having a lot of celebration around the 20th year. Where we had David Haas here I heard about, and symphonies playing. Brings back a lot of memories from what happened before. I'm thinking of this whole evening as, I don't want it to be a nostalgia trip. I want to recount some of the history and some of the things that are going on, but I want to do it as a springboard for working out our own spirituality, for seeing what it's got to tell us today. We have to live in today, not 20 years ago. The world has changed, things are new, and we need to find our ways to figure out how to be Christians in today's world. So that's how I wanted to structure my talk around things, this building, the process of making it, the artwork in here, and so on. And I have in my own mind where Pope Francis is going to take us. So as Jeremy said, I wrote a book on, we're keeping it a secret, but it is available for Paul's Trust, but try not to let anybody know about it. And it's all about where Francis would take us. And it's so important. I mean, I actually wrote the book purposefully because I know when sooner or later the bishop is going to say, let's write another pastoral letter on campus ministry, and I know there's going to be a fight. And the fight's going to be between people who are in the culture warrior ranks, see us as a militant group, church militant, and fighting all that, and those who want to follow the path of Francis. So that is in my mind. So I'm trying to figure out a way to blend together the history and what we learned from that, and this building, and where Francis wants to take us. First, I'm thinking about a young woman. She was in the thing ahead of time. Anna Yosef. Some people might remember Anna. Well, Anna was a student here. She was a chemistry major. And back in the middle 90s, when we started talking about this church and so on, we started having listening sessions with students. And Anna was in that group. Then we had listening sessions with faculty members and permanent community members and everybody we could find that could be interested in campus ministry and so on. And Anna was always very involved in all of that and sort of stood out, very bright young lady. And then at one point, John Graham was sitting here, the chair of the building committee, who had a really difficult job. In fact, I don't know how he did it, holding together this strong-willed group of people. And if somebody said, we got to have a taupe up here, somebody else said, oh, it's got to be blue. I mean, it was just incredible. Anyway, he held it together, and then he invited Anna Yosef to be on the building committee, which was, really great. And Anna brought a lot of important viewpoints, and one of Anna's things that she held with others said, well, we need a lot of light coming in here. And what we need is a landing stone in the front, which puts us in relationship to the university. The university got all these buildings, landing stone, a very significant part, and so that Anna's idea was that when students are coming across, they see the landing stone, that this is our university, it's our part of our university world. So that was a really good thing. And Anna, one day we were sitting down with a collaborative. They're not able to be it. That was the architects who did this thing. And Bob Fessler, Paul Sullivan, and we were sitting there. We got a cardboard model of what the church might look like. And Anna Yosef says, well, you see all those straight beams? What if they were curved? What if they were curved? And Paul Sullivan got up, went out, got scissors and cut out beams. We all sat there and said, that's right. Father Richard Bosco, who was involved in all of this, was the great brains behind all the whole liturgical space, wrote a book about church architecture, and he did the Milwaukee Cathedral, cathedrals all over the country, and who did he want on the cover of his book? This church. Cover of his book that he wrote. In fact, I was in touch with Father Bosco before I came here, and he sent his congratulations and so on. But he listened to Anna and listened to everybody else, did a great job. So we now have in here the Yosik beams. And in fact, Anna was just here. In fact, she's married, has 3 children, and she was just back to the church that she helped design, worshiping here just a month or so ago. Anna Yosik. So that's the story of the consultation that went on as part of all of this. Now, Pope Francis is big on that. Pope Francis wants what he calls a synodal church. Synodal church, he says, is a church that listens, that starts from the grassroots. Remember, he had a synod on family, and that's his idea of how you move things forward. You ended up with an award-winning church. Won national awards. I know Pam went to someplace in the country and picked up an award in the city, or I forgot. But anyway, we received a national award for this church, and as a result of all the build-up, the consultation, and so on. So that's my first point. The process was good, and it's the future. The old days of just one person sitting around, a pastor or a bishop, and saying, this is what we're going to do, it isn't going to work. It's not going to be enough people aren't going to accept it. And you get better results. That's what Francis said. We got a better church because Anna Yosef put it that way. Got curved beams. Those are Anna Yosef. Well, let me go back to after you come across the church, there's passageways from the campus, from around, from in, and we get eventually to the baptismal font. Yeah, there it is. I'll say it for modern technology. You just say baptismal font, and I'm going to try that again, Tom. Yeah, got a baptismal font. The man who designed that is here tonight, Ken Thompson. He also did the tabernacle in the reservation chapel and the windows and so on. So I better not ask people to stand, right, John? That's not a good thing to do. So anyway, I'm always grateful that Ken did that. That's 8 tons of South Dakota granite. There was a Baptist man and his wife who donated that baptismal font. And I remember he came here to see it. Member of Baptist Church. We got a lot of ecumenical help and all of this. And he came in to see it. He said, well, nobody's going to steal it, are they? You're right. So that font is so important. The font baptism is our initiation into the church. No, it makes us members of the people of God. It's our fundamental equality. Every freshman who comes there and dips his hand in that font is as much a member of that body of Christ as the Pope is, or anybody else. By virtue of baptism, we're all members of the universal priesthood, the baptismal priesthood. You know, we're all called to holiness, equally. All called to holiness, all called to do our part to spread the kingdom of God in the world. And so one of the things that Pope Francis has done is resurrect the notion of the people of God. We didn't hear much about that for 35 years under his 2 previous successors, but that was a main thought of the Second Vatican Council, 62 to 65. The people of God, and he's refreshing it, he's bringing it back. Francis, oh Francis, we're all members of the people of God, and response got to work together. The equal membership in all of this. So that becomes absolutely crucial to how we're going to move forward, or all the people are going to come here in the future, and all the students that will cross the street and follow that pathway under that Irish cross and come in, put their hand and fly. Our church. Somebody wrote me a beautiful note saying that if this felt like their church, and one of the reasons was because people voted on everything. We voted on everything. We voted whether we would have dealers or not. Voted not to have dealers. We voted on these tapestries, who would be up there. We voted on who the figures being facing the fawn. So it was a collaborative, and this professor said to me, it felt like our own. It felt like we owned it. It was ours because we voted. It was us who participated in all of this. So the font symbolizes a lot of that. Well, around the font we have a number of different figures, again voted on. John put certain parameters on that. We could vote on who was going to face the font, but they have 3 men and 3 women. And we also said that they need to be roughly 20th century people. We're not going to put up there St. Hildegard of Bingen from the 14th century. So we got three men and 3 women. The first one I want to talk, and this is interesting. Remember when Francis was here and talked to Congress? He mentioned 4 people in his talk. Wonder how many people would remember that? I will tell you one was Abraham Lincoln. Pope Francis addressed the whole Congress, right? It was a big deal. Never happened before. 3 other people he mentioned, he stole from us. I got those from us, anyway. So I want to mention each one. One was Dorothy Day, actually, found the Catholic Worker Home. Dorothy Day, her biographer said she was the most influential, important figure in the whole history of American Catholicism. Founded the Catholic Worker Movement, a newspaper, and Catholic Worker houses. She had one in Lower Manhattan, and where she brought in the images off the street. She lived there. She slept with them. She took care of incontinent men many nights. And Dorothy Day, so the Pope said, Francis said, because of her care for the poor, that's why he raised her up. My favorite story about Dorothy Day, however, is that Robert Coles, who became a professor at Harvard, psychologist, finished his studies one night in medical school and wanted to go down to the Catholic Worker House, and I don't know exactly why, but when he got there, Dorothy Day was off sitting in the side with a drunken lady. This lady was just going off and yelling and everything, and Robert Cole just waited patiently. Everyone to see Dorothy Day, and so finally, that conversation, the woman quieted down, and Dorothy Day got up and walked over to Robert Coles and said, "Were you waiting to see one of us?" Robert Coles wrote a whole book about Dorothy Day based on, "Were you waiting to see one of us?" That's what I want to take away from Dorothy Day. So we got a lot of poor people in the city that are not them, those poor people, 25%, but some of us in Toledo are poor. Some of us are students at the university and need a hand, need a place to come, need encouragement and so on. Some of us are refugees and immigrants that need to be treated properly. My lesson from Dorothy Day. Some of us need help. Not them, not us, them. The second person that the in London as a young man, bopped around New York, played the scene there, you know, and finally they decided he was going to become a Trappist monk. Went off to Gethsemane. I mean, nobody could believe it. Bright fellow and so on, and he said, well, he wasn't going to write anymore, or anything. So he gets there, he ends up writing some things, and he's all praying, he's living out by himself, he's quiet, don't talk at meals, and he's meditating all day long. And one day, he decided to publish another book. And that book was called Conjectures of a Guilty Bystander. So what did he come to see? He's all praying. Well, this thing was a good thing, you know. But he felt that God had called him to do more than just sit back and pray, but he needed to be involved in the works of justice and peace. So Francis, when he talked about in Congress, that called Thomas Merton our model of being a peacemaker. So Merton spoke strongly against war, in favor of peace, and so on. And so what I get out of Merton is that our prayer life, for most of us, we got nuns down on the far side, it doesn't count for, but we got, most of us, whatever prayer life we got is supposed to nourish us from doing better in the world, for making peace and justice in the world. The third one that Pope mentioned was Martin Luther King. Again, voted on. Now that's interesting because he's not Catholic, you know, he's Baptist. And what I want to remember about King, and the Pope raised him up for his nonviolence. Remember his house was firebombed, and he said in passion terms, no one will pull me down to the level of being violent. Nobody will force me down. Lower my ideals. So he was apostle of non-violence. And it didn't matter. He was faithful to his marches, and he called marches off if there was going to be violence and so on. And one day Martin Luther King he had been terrible things he took on. He was sitting in his dining room or his kitchen in the middle of the night, and the Lord came to him. And the Lord spoke to Martin Luther King and said, Martin Luther, stand up for truth. Stand up for justice. Stand up for righteousness. And lo, I will be with you all the days of your life. And so Martin Luther King becomes this apostle of nonviolence, but especially in this effort to try to persevere in doing good when it's hard. When things aren't going our way, we're not making any progress. You know, for all our peace activists here and so on. We wonder how we're going to, all those who are trying to find a way to get beyond our partisanship, we don't seem to get any place. Martin Luther King is saying, don't give up on it. Can't give up. Fight for truth. Fight for justice. Fight for righteousness. Fight for equality. You have to do it. So there's a strong message coming. The other person back there is Mother Teresa, I think. Mother Teresa. Yeah. I remember when Father Hesford came here, we had not only a religious celebration, but we had a civic celebration. The mayor and the president of the university and a lot of civic officials and so on. And Father Hesford from Notre Dame, president of Notre Dame and so on, who knew everybody. I remember I was with him, we looked at each of the figures back there. And he looked at Mother Teresa and said, yeah, I spent time with her in Calcutta. Came up to here, I think. Thomas Merton, oh yeah, we corresponded. I used to go down to Gethsemane to see him a lot. We corresponded. Dorothy Day, yeah, used to go see her at his hospitality house. Wonderful lady. Martin Luther King. Well, Coretta called me the other day. What am I adding this? Mother Teresa. Of course, Francis loves Mother Teresa because of her care for the poor. Constant message from the Pope, right? gotta care for the poor, reach out to the poor, help them. They're us, they're one of us. It's not the other people, but they're us who need help. And then Therese, the little flower, she died. She was the only one not from the 20th century. I just waited. What's he going to say about Therese? Yeah, I visited her house once. Anyway, Therese had lofty ideals. She died in 1897, so she's a little not on the 20th century. But she wanted to be a missionary. She wanted to go to every country, every continent, and preach Jesus. She wanted to be a priest. She wanted to be the greatest missionary in the world. And she found herself in this tiny convent, in a sense, stuck there. And so she decided that she had to do the best wherever she was. So she took it herself. Every little task was this old nun that she would push around and take her to eat and cut her meat for her and deal with her exactly as she wanted, push her very slowly and so on. So there was this nun who sat behind her and made this clucking sound all the time. It drove Therese nuts. To pray constantly. This woman's clucking. So she finally figured out what she do. She figured out that, well, this clucking sound is really a beautiful prayer to God. So she developed a little way of charity. So most of those students who come here, some are going to be great, some will hear about it in the news, but a lot of them will live ordinary lives, found families, and so on. And they'll have a job, the task, to live the life of charity in their own circle, whether they do it for kids, their grandkids, everyday life, compromising, and so on. And the last one, which I better not talk too long about, is called honor. He's here personally in my bones and blood. I carry Carl around with me. What a great blessing of my life. We spent time with honor in Munich, one of the 5 most influential theologians in the history of the church. Great man. I remember going on a walk with him one time, and we stopped at what would be like a coffee house, we used to call it. We go in there, and when he wants to know is, well, how do you cook the food? How do you serve it? And who comes here? And so on. He often said when he went to a new city, he didn't want to go to the cathedral, he wanted to go to the mall. That's what he asked me. So Colorado's big bit was, we find God in ordinary experience. And our ordinary experience is a fruitful source of spiritual growth. One of the Ronald came to the United States in 78, around there, gave one of the most important talks he ever gave, which was on how to interpret Vatican II. That council back in 62 to 65, how do you interpret it? And he said, well, it wasn't the culmination of a whole lot of movements like many people think. Even Peter Bellmeyer one time thought of it that way. Until he read Ron. There's a culmination of liturgical movement. Peter, theological movement, biblical movements. John the 23rd called that together. John the 23rd called that all together. And culmination, right? I said, Peter, you got it wrong. That's not it. It's the tiny beginning of great changes in the church that you can't imagine, where we'll have indigenous forms of Christianity in China and in Ghana and all over the world, indigenous forms of Christianity. Yeah, we'll be a world church for the first time. Yeah, this will be great. You can't even imagine the changes that are in front of these young people that have come here to Mass. Well, Francis, without attribution, has picked this up. Francis got this clear. Francis says, when he takes over, what does he do? He appoints 8 cardinals from around the world to be his advisors. Yeah. G9, we call him, as secretary. Yeah. And when he writes his documents, when John Paul II wrote all of his encyclicals, the man he quoted more than anybody else was himself. constantly quoted and stuff. When Pope Francis writes encyclicals and big things, he quotes national hierarchies. Well, this is what the Japanese bishop said. This is what the Brazilian bishop said. In other words, the world church is starting to take shape right here and now, in our own time and place. And Francis is doing that. He's got his problems, and maybe we'll get to that, but yeah, a world church. So that, and he says in the world church, Rome will not dictate everything. Rome will not be able to tell everybody what to do. Can't have one canon law to cover everything. But as he's functioning, he's trying to listen to what the bishops all over the world are saying. Bring it together. We're a world church. So he creates new cardinals from Oceania or all over the world. So Francis is living out on his whole thing. I want to move now away from the font, which is extremely important, to the altar, which is usually right there. So what we should have is a picture of that altar. There we go. There we go. Yeah. So usually that altar is right here under the 65-foot cupola, right in the center of the labyrinth, which is modeled on the labyrinth of the Chartres Cathedral. No, and the idea of a labyrinth is that you don't get lost, but you just follow the lines, walk them, and it takes you to the center. The altar is so important. People remember, somebody's telling me when we were seeing the picture when, at the beginning, when Bishop Hoffman came to dedicate the church and bless the altar for all his home, somebody told me there was a gasp in the congregation, of course, what's all oil. So the altar was done by Dean Ludwig. I know there's Dean as well. I see his wife. He did the altar, the anvil, and the table, both for this and in the other chapel. And not only that, which is one of his first efforts at the Church of Christ, he won national awards for that. Good work. So the altar reminds us that we are a Christocentric community. In other words, we got modern day and all that, but they get their life, it's not their own hobby horse what they're doing, but they are living the life of Christ. They get nourished at the table like all the rest of us. So the altar represents Christ. And for Pope Francis, that Christ is like our guide. You know, Pope Francis talks about a company. So we had a grandchild who's having trouble. Pope Francis says, what you ought to do is accompany them. Walk with them. You don't have to answer all the problems, but walk with them. Because he says that's what Jesus does for us. Jesus walks with us. He accompanies us along the path. And Francis loves the image of the Good Shepherd. That Jesus is the Good Shepherd, especially because he goes after the strays. He goes after those who need help, the poor, the marginalized, the downtrodden, and so on. That's what Francis likes, that idea. So the altar is the center. There's a Cardinal Sirah, happens to be a very important position in the Vatican. He's the chair of the commission on divine worship. And he's been going around the country saying, well, when priests say Mass, this is a man the Pope appointed to his position. He's going around the world saying, well, priests ought to start saying Mass with their back to the people. Cardinal Sirah, the beginning. And Francis has had to publicly rebuke him and say, because Sirah says the priest should face east. When he's saying Mass, should face east and have his back to the people. And the Pope says, that isn't right. the center is not the east, the center is the altar where we celebrate the Mass. We bring our gifts and offer them in conjunction with Jesus. That's the center. So we all should be facing the altar, which is one of the great and beautiful things, of course, about this worship space. Every church that Dick Bosco remembers on the meetings, I said, I noticed that you'd like to have the altar in the center. I said, do you ever design a church that didn't have the altar in the center? And Bosco waited on said, no, because that's where it belongs. The altar belongs in the center. This is Christocentric. We have to gather around the altar, bring our gifts to the altar. So, yeah. Face the altar, that's what the Pope says. Now, we got to know some things about this Jesus that's there, that we're worshiping with, and so on. And I want to go to the Stations of the Cross. Yeah, good. Stations of the Cross. Now that's interesting, because we're one of the few churches in the whole country that have the Station of the Cross on the floor. They start over there, and go all the way around. Over here, Fort King, Jesus is buried. But they're the scriptural stations that John Paul II started back in 1991. They're not traditional, so if you walk to a station, you're not going to find Veronica like in the face of Jesus, as you would in the traditional station, because that's not in the Bible. So Pope John Paul II was the only scriptural station, so we got the interrogation before the Sanhedrin and so on. But what that does is tell us that Christ is a sinner, walked in the dark valley with us. He was one of us in every way except sin. So he knew suffering, he knew rejection, he knew misunderstanding of his own mother, who thought he was crazy for going out preaching like that. His mother, his brothers came together to bring him back home. So that but there's the cross, and Jesus could say, well, if you want to be part of this, you got to pick up your cross and carry it. So we end up the stations, with the 14 stations we always have. This is the burial of Jesus. And what Pope Francis understands is you can't end there. He kept saying, look, we Christians should not be people who look like we just came from a funeral all the time. Sometimes, he keeps writing things, the joy of the gospel, the joy of love. You got to be alive. You can't walk around as though it's always Lent. You can't think of going to confession like a torture chamber. So he's got all these things that said, no, it doesn't end there. You have to have something else. What you need is an icon. That's reading Nancy Smith by Jim Nunn. That's resurrection there. That's a counterpoint to the 14 stations. That's resurrection. That's joy. That's triumph. That's victory. And so part of this thing, I don't know if people can see well, but the scene on the right, you know what biblical scene that is? That's Emmaus. The Emmaus scene where Jesus, Luke 24, Jesus walks, the disciples are leaving Jerusalem because they're afraid, and then somebody comes along, a stranger, and talks to them, and then they ask them to stay in Emmaus and visit with them. And so he takes out the bread and the wine, and in the breaking of the bread, they recognize Jesus, and he disappears. You notice something interesting about that? That's our church there. You see it? See it above our heads? That's our church. That's Corpus Christi Church right there in this icon. That's in the tradition of Russian iconography. And it links us in. And so with that icon on the right is together, and on the left is Mary and Martha. But I'm going to be one on the right, our right here. seat like? That's the seat for us. We're supposed to be part of it. The icon invites us to become part of the scene. When Jesus recognized in the breaking of the bread that Cleopas and his wife, Scripture says Cleopas and his companion, Nancy Smith, the figure his companion was probably his wife. So we got Mrs. Cleopas here. Cleopas and Mrs. Cleopas, but all inviting us in. So what the point of this is to see this Christ that we're following as our guide, guides us as we walk through the dark valley and in the difficult times, and rejoices with us in all those great moments of triumph and ecstasy, spiritual growth. That Jesus walked in passion, but only for the sake of the resurrection. So we want our young people to come here to realize that Christianity is not a heavy burden. We're not supposed to walk around like masochists all the time, but we're supposed to see the joy of the gospel. How about Mary of Magdala? Is that where?
Yes.
Oh, there she is. This is magical. Mary of Magdala. So these are tapestries here. Right? They are made by the artists who did 134 of these figures for the Los Angeles Cathedral. He's John Nava, N-A-V-A. We got him because of Richard Bosco, who helped on the LA Cathedral. And that, I don't know if people, the LA Cathedral's got all hard surfaces. It's marble and it's sound, big sound problems. So what they did cleverly is put in 134 tapestries like that, and to practically along the sound, but also as a teaching device. So John Nava did those figures for us. Of course, the community voted on it, and who the figures would be. Again, John insisted there be an equal number of men and women. So we got 6 of each, and they're in chronological order. John Nava came here when they were unveiled, and Luke Rosen wrote original music for each one of them. We had a Latin beat for Romero. It was just the genius at work, the music man. There was a one thing, John Nava, I could tell was very moved. Now, he was celebrated all over the world for 134 figures in LA Cathedral, but I could tell that he liked coming here and seeing his work and seeing it unveiled or unveiled one at a time as Luke played the background music. So, they represent the communion of saints. They represent that great throng, unnumbered people who are now enjoying their reward with God. And that we're part of that community of saints. It's one of the things that Pope Francis about the liturgy for him had what we call a cosmic dimension. It isn't just our little group here, but we're connected in to the bigger and larger universe. You can see one of the themes of Francis following my teacher Carl Honor is an expansive imagination, a bigger vision of life. So a cosmic liturgy. So these figures represent that communion of saints. I know some people told me, buried or deceased loved ones here, that they got their own slot up there. One woman's got it next to John's 23rd, that's her husband. She comes in, she's got her husband up here, right next to John the 23rd. She comes in here, she's in communion with her deceased loved one. My teacher, Carl Honor, said, we're closer to our deceased loved ones than when they walked the earth with us. They're closer than ever before. Beautiful thought. Yeah. Anyway, so we got Mary Magdalene. So in Corpus Christi, we know that Mary of Magdala was not a sinner. She was not a prostitute. Unfortunately, I have to blame one of our hopes for that thought. She was a woman who had 7 demons cast out of her, which meant she was cured of a serious illness. That's what it means, have 7 demons cast out, and she had a very serious illness, and Jesus cured her. And she was a very well-to-do woman. And exactly why I think it's connected with the fishing industry in Galilee. And she and some other Galileans were fairly well off, and they traveled with Jesus. Remember, Jesus was an itinerant rabbi. As he said himself, I didn't have any place to lay my head. He was out walking around, visiting new places and so on. And he had Mary of Magdalene traveled with him, bringing all social taboos. And she ended up down in Jerusalem with them. As you remember, she ended up at the cross when all the male disciples ran away. Peter and Peter denied the Lord. Mary Magdalene was there at the cross with other Galilean women. So she became a really important person. She's not a sinner. She's a follower of Jesus, and she is the apostle to the apostles. The apostle means to be sent. There were 12 official followers of Jesus. But there were many apostles. There was an apostle Junia, who was preeminent among the apostles, as Paul tells us in chapter 16 of Romans. And Paul was an apostle. Barnabas was an apostle. A lot of apostles. Saying that Jesus, when he rose, appeared to Mary and said, "Go tell the others." So she became the apostle to the apostles, the one sent to talk to the 12, to tell them that Jesus is risen. So in here, we celebrate this great woman apostle. We want our young people to come here to remember Mary Magdalene not as a prostitute, but as a terrific example of courageous discipleship. Well, let's do another one from the tapestries. How about Augustine? Augustine, if we came from North Africa, I will say this. I've talked to experts on this. It looks like John Nava took a little license. He was from North Africa, but in all likelihood, he wasn't that black. But John Nava portrays it in that way, which teaches a lesson in itself about the importance of racial inclusion and so on. So Augustine is great in so many different ways. He's another one that thought it was a playboy. I really don't see him quite that way. He did have a mistress, but he was pretty faithful to the same mistress. Maybe like we think of today as a common law marriage. He tried pretty faithful to her. But one of his major problems came from his mother, Monica, who's over here. She was the original helicopter mother. Hovering over Augustine all the time, trying to get him to shave off. Do what you're supposed to do. And he shaved, to say the least. One time, he told her a whole bunch of lies so he could get on a ship and get away from him. He's a great one for our young people. Those who are trying to work out their own identity, their own life. Not to be their parents living through them and so on. So Augustine had this marvelous conversion experience. He wrestled with many questions, very bright. And anyway, he was out in the garden, he was with his friend, and went out in the garden, and then he heard his voice take up and read, and he reads from Paul, not in drunkenness, not in orgies, not in party and all that, but if to put on the Lord Jesus Christ. That was his conversion, and changed his life. Got baptized as a Christian, became a priest, and was confident come here to becoming a bishop. He didn't want to, but people in Hippo, or he was in the area where he was, insisted and forced him into becoming a bishop, and did his best. He wrote all kinds of things, and he wrote especially Confessions. So we still read the confessions today, and all kind of neat things in there. One of the things he said was that, Lord, make me chaste, but not yet. So he stands as a great one who struggled with his sexuality through his life. Another great thing for our young people to realize. They go through their collegiate years. Struggle with sexuality. And in the confessions, he says at the beginning, Lord, you have made us for yourself, and our hearts are restless until they rest in thee. Lord, you made us for yourself. We made for you. We have infinite longings. We're searching, infinite searchers, never satisfied with all we know, never satisfied with the amount of love we give and receive, never satisfied. That restless hearts, Lord. They rest only in you, when they rest in me. So Augustine, a master psychologist and wonderful thinker, and someone who said that all theology is nothing but a footnote to Augustine. Becomes the most important figure in the history of Christian theology, and a great example for us to pick up on. How about Francis of Assisi? Well, do you remember when Pope Francis was made Pope? Was elected as March 13th of 2013, and he comes out on the balcony, and he's announced Francis. Picked the name Francis. Nobody in 2,000-year history of the popes ever picked Francis. Francis of Assisi. And then you remember that iconic gesture that has touched his whole papacy. Said, I have a favor to ask. Would you please pray for me? I was with two people, a priest friend and another lady friend, watching that. And they both got extremely emotional at that point. My priest friend usually doesn't emote like that. He got teary, he was crying. He seemed as though he grasped the importance of that iconic moment. Moved him deeply. Started crying. Would you pray for me? I said, constantly pray for Francis, say prayers for me. I'm a sinner, I need help, I need guidance. So I need guidance now more than ever. And the woman said, something about him, I don't know anything about him, but just his face and his actions tell me he's a great man, good man, spiritual man. He had an intuition about what we've come to see. So he lives in simple quarters and so on. He drives around a small car and doesn't like the trappings of office, so on. So we've got fixed the name Francis. And there's really two main things that our Pope Francis is seeing in his namesake, Francis of Assisi. And that is his care for the poor and for the value of poverty. So he becomes poor. He renounces his father's business and gets a big tip with his father. And he could have been well off. And he says no to that, takes up a simple lifestyle. Not only that, but he cares for the poor, he takes care of the poor. And the other thing is his love of creation, love of nature, the respect of God's created world. So two main things that Pope Francis picks up on. And in his great encyclical, Laudato Si, the Pope points that out. He calls Francis Oh, brother, sun, sister, moon, wind, the stars, everything reveals to me the splendor of God. So what Francis thinks in our world today is that we got a global crisis, and it's really twofold. It's ecological. That is, we got anthropocentric climate change, which the Pope buys into totally. And we've got the poor who are going to suffer the most from it. Poor people who live in coastlines and so on, won't be able to have crops and so on. So, Laudato Si, which is such a marvelous document. And I think that in my book on Pope Francis, I suggest to campus ministers that they play to that. A lot of our young people have a great sense of ecology and not wasting things and recycling. And they know from their studies that climate change is a problem. As you know, Pope Francis is a big supporter of the Paris Agreement. He was part of his own efforts to make sure Laudato Si was written to help prop up the whole world to get behind the Paris Agreement, which almost every country in the world did, and almost every country except one does today. Every country in the world. China's not cut back on their own commitments in terms of the Paris agreements. So, Francis, incidentally, that hurt Francis's popularity in the United States. This was Laudato Si. His ratings, popularity ratings went down. And one clear theory is because there's a lot of people in the United States who thinks that climate change, anthropocentric climate change, man-made climate change is a hoax. So those people who think like that decided they didn't like Francis too much because he's in favor of the Paris agreements and so on. But he says that the poor and the ecology have to go together. And so that encyclical that he wrote is, I think, one of his great contributions to where we're at. That comes from Francis. How about St. Catherine of Siena? How about that? Well, we got somebody who's really at work here. Incredible. Why did I pick St. Catherine of Siena? When did she die? 1380. Catherine of Siena. She was connected with the Dominicans. I know why. Because Catherine of Siena, while being a nun, was involved in public affairs to a high degree. Very high degree. In fact, she was involved, the Pope had gone away from Rome into Avignon, which caused all kind of havoc in Rome. And she went to the Pope in Avignon and tried to talk him into going back to Rome, which he eventually did. Not only that, but the Pope got Catherine of Siena to be an ambassador for peace, sent her on peace missions. So, what I hear so often from women who are not happy with the church comes down to talking about the Pope. The church doesn't recognize our public role. They're glad that we're saying prayers. They're glad that we're helping in the sacristy. And they're even glad that they distribute communion at Mass, or if they read from the Scripture, that's great. But when so many would say, yeah, but there's more. There's the public role. That's what's wrong with patriarchy, whether it's religious or secular, is that it denies the public role, the public arena, the political world, the economic world to women. And Catherine of Siena represents really the opposite of that. Catherine of Siena was involved in the world, was used to do big things, and be an ambassador for peace, and so on. Let me try another one. That is over here. That would be Mohan Das Gandhi. So, that's the most controversial thing in the church. I remember some guy coming in here and saying, what the hell is that? That was that Muslim guy doing. Well, I said, first of all, he wasn't a Muslim. He was a Hindu. A very serious Hindu. The other thing was that he had tremendous reverence for Jesus and thought the Sermon on the Mount was one of the greatest things ever. And what he couldn't figure out is why Christians weren't more faithful to the Sermon on the Mount of Jesus. The other reason he's up there is because he was voted in. Part of this consultation, democratic approach to building this church. So someone said if they try to take that down, they're going to hear from me because I voted for God. So, you know what? You go to the Hindu temple in Toledo, some of you got it, you'll see that replica of that tapestry. We shared it at a solemn ceremony with the Hindus. We handed it over right here to the Hindu community and they put it up in their worship space. Yeah, well, Einstein, non-violence, free the whole country and so on. Do we have Oscar Romero? He's the most recent one. He died in the same year that Dorothy Day died. That would be 1980. Remember his story? He's a churchman, he's a bishop and so on. Small place in El Salvador. And he's thought of as being a big friend of the rich. And so the rich who were running things pretty much says, yeah, he should become the Archbishop of San Salvador, which he did. After he was named the Archbishop of San Salvador, some Jesuit friends of his were killed. You know, it was a rough, violent society, military dictatorship, and they killed nuns, priests, and so on. And that changed Romero. And Romero became an advocate for the poor, an advocate for the underclass. And every Sunday he would read out the names of those who had disappeared. People were constantly disappearing. Wives, where's my husband? People gone. Terrible things. And Romero would read their names out to put pressure on the government to stop this oppression. So he became a marked man. And one day he was in a hospital chapel at the altar, saying Mass. A lone assassin comes in, kills him with a single blow, right while he's saying Mass. That's Oscar Romero. Now, there's a period of time when the church officials were not too thrilled about Oscar Romero, and they really sort of had Marxist tendencies, so on. And his track to become a saint was clearly slowed down, brought to a halt almost. And when Pope Francis became the Pope, suddenly the process opened up. Suddenly things began to happen, to move through the congregations, to move Oscar Romero into sainthood. So Romero stands for the possibility of conversion. Francis wants all of us to be missionaries, to be evangelizers, to reach out to the poor, the refugees, and to not be self-satisfied in the world as we know it. Oscar Romero says, yeah, it's possible to do better. It's possible to change. It's possible to overcome one's prejudices and so on, and try to reach out, do good, create justice. How about beaded and hammered. The artist died right before he finished the face of Mary. An assistant finished it for us. It was a sad story that brought it here, and so on. And that statue of Mary, well, there's a number of things that become important about it. But let me do the overarching thing that's important. The problem since Vatican II has been something like this. Vatican II says, concentrate on the liturgy. Active, full participation in liturgy. Concentrate on the altar, that's the main symbol. Be Christocentric. And at the same time, some people thought, oh, we lost the devotional life. We lost the devotions, Catholic devotions. You know, Catholicism in the United States was highly devotional, all the way up to the time of the council. My sisters there, remember, we used to go to the St. Jude statue on Sunday after Mass, and pray for my younger brother, who was totally non-functional. The devotional life has been important in Catholic. So the question is how do you keep the liturgical center, Christ in the center, and not lose the devotions? Well, there's a church in Rome of St. Constanza that this church is modeled on. Pillars all the way around, encasing the worship space, so we're facing one another, we're facing the altar, we're centered on Christ. But then there's an ambulatory, that is a walkway outside, and it's in that walkway that we have put the devotional life of the church. Somewhere along the line, somebody's going to say, Duke Bosco was a genius because he came up with the solution to the liturgical problem we've had ever since Vatican II. So some people have said, well, the Catholic Church got so bare. No statues, where are the things we always remember? Where are the vigilites? So on. They were in our Eucharistic chapel, the vigilites. So you see, so it's a solution that's great. And Francis got such a feeling, because Francis always says, the people have a theology. It's even called that, people's theology. People. He says, if you want to know something academically about Mary, then talk to Peter Goldman. But if you want to know what she's really all about, talk to my mother, who had this great devotion to Mary. She said, that's where you find out what Mary's all about, at a popular level. So this church has solved an essential problem. Now, if you look at that statue, I love it. What I used to do at baptisms, I had a lot of little kids around, just send them over there. Don't tell them anything. Just send them over to look. It's interesting that we go off and sort of touch Jesus a little bit and look up at Mary's face and so on. So what we get here is a real-life human Mary. One of us, that's what the Second Vatican Council said. Mary is the prototype of the Christian. She's the forerunner of how Christians are supposed to live. Mary is a wonderful, powerful symbol of many things, including women's liberation. And so that realism comes across there. And it's just, the students come in here ready to see the Mary statue as opposed to a plastic statue of Mary on a wall in a blue robe looking like she never did any housework. You're going to get a different picture of what Mary's all about. And so we've got Mary. Somebody beforehand said, don't forget Joseph, he's over here. And he's looking across. This man died, so we had to get a new artist. He's looking across, Joseph, looking across at Mary and his wife and his son. Got that. We got the Station of the Cross. We got the icon, all in the ambulatory. putting together the popular piety and the liturgical piety. Well, Pope Francis said the church should be a field hospital. That's one of the most important. What is the church? A field hospital. That is, it's a place where people who are injured and hurt and needy and, can come and get the balm, get the healing and so on. So the overall structure of this thing is the windows opening out, horizontal lines at the bottom, as God has given it with us, soaring lines above, like the Gothic cathedrals take your heart up, but you're looking out on the university. This parish exists to serve the University of Toledo. That's its stated mission. And we need a pathway. There's that pathway, good word. The pathway that people come in to worship, get nourished, to share the Eucharistic meal, find inspiration, to learn from the models and so on. But then you go back to classes, go back to teaching, go back to administrating, go back to the real life of the university. Hopefully being a level, helping the university live up to its own highest ideals. One of the things Andy Osick said at the beginning was the church had to look welcoming. Bob Fessler, I remember the day he figured it out. Open arms, welcoming. The church architecture speaks to that very point. I remember the day when he said, I think I got it. Open arms. So, there we got it. Again, my emphasis is the past is great, it was heady, it was wonderful. We had all these great celebrations, the whole library and the Zach Lounge, and the civic celebration, and Bishop Altman in here, the blessed of God. Heady, wonderful, ecstatic, beautiful memories. But the past is there as a springboard to the future. And I am convinced that if we're going to reach these young people, it's the path of Francis we have to follow. Francis knows how to deal with these young people. And my great hope is that I think I said that I appreciate Father Jerry Miller, like he's doing good things. So I have every hope that this parish will continue with the great resource of the permanent community. Can't do without the permanent community. That's why we moved in here debt-free. Never borrowed a penny. This whole marvelous structured building, all of it, got it because of generous people. Incidentally, today was on the phone most of the day calling people, thanking them for that. For all the ways they contributed, running the marriage course, contributing money and so on. Called a lot of people today to thank them for that. And so there's gratitude for the past, but there's bright hope for the future.